women from Merseyside arrive at Baghdad airport. While America threatens to send more troops to the Gulf to confront Iraq, and the world still seems poised on the brink of war, these women embarked on an extraordinary and controversial mission to the heart of the crisis. They're the first women to go to meet their husbands, or among the 1,400 men kept hostage by Saddam Hussein.
You go away with that camera.
Tonight's World in Action follows them to Baghdad. Coping with the situation in which they feel they're pawns, they go directly to the Iraqi government to ask for their husband's release. Liverpool Council's Housing Department. Angela Forshaw works here as an area manager. The last time she saw her husband was when she put him on a plane to Baghdad in July.
OK, thanks very much. Bye. Well, he went because work's tight in Liverpool. You can't really get much work in Liverpool. He's always worked around the country. But this is the first time he's worked abroad. It was offered to him and it was a chance that he had to take. And it was only for a period of 6 weeks.
Christopher and Simon Felwell's dad went out on the same job with a company of painters and decorators.
Baby doesn't know his dad because he was only 3 months old when his dad went and he's now 8 months old. And it's a big chunk out of his life, isn't it?
Joan Concepcion leaves the newsagent where she works and contemplates her husband's fate. He went out on the same contract to decorate Saddam Hussein's palace.
Well, I didn't really want him to go because I don't like him being away from home. And out in the Middle East, you don't know whether there's ever any trouble. But the Foreign Office seemed to think that it was a very stable situation out there when he went. So we agreed for him to go and do it.
Just weeks after the men arrived, Iraq invaded Kuwait, and the women had to face up to the fact that their husbands were at the very centre of a conflict which could escalate to war.
Life for the Brits here now is tough, and I think it's going to get tougher.
Oh, it's just been awful. I don't think I could have felt any worse if, he had died. It's been really, really bad not knowing when he would be home or if he would be coming home.
Absolutely horrified. I just couldn't believe that it could be happening to us. You see other people getting caught up in situations like this, but you just don't dream that it could ever happen to yourself, especially when you're not a political person and your husband's just a painter and decorator. It's always journalists or diplomats or scientists people that are taken. You just don't believe that anyone could hold a group of painters and decorators.
How did you deal with that stress in the first few weeks?
Well, I didn't really deal very well with it at the beginning. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. And it was just awful.
For 6 weeks, the women sat tight. Their only contact with the men was a weekly phone call and then an unexpected glimpse of them on television news.
There's Jimmy.
There's Dave.
What do you think of what the Iraqi government has done?
Well, I don't think that they should have gone into Kuwait. And I certainly don't think they should be holding our husbands there. But the British government are worrying me. I feel that they've done very little to help us.
Well, I think Mrs Thatcher just likes to follow Bush, doesn't she? And Bush gets most of his oil from Kuwait and they just want cheap oil.
Well, I suppose we'd all like to think that it was for humanitarian reasons and that everyone was concerned about Kuwait. But quite frankly, I do think it is about cheap oil. And I think it was an American who said that if Kuwait grew carrots, then no one would be interested. I think that Mrs Thatcher's just jumped on the American bandwagon, more so than any of the other European countries.
British politicians say we shouldn't in any way negotiate with a regime that just walked into a neighbouring country.
Well, I'd just like to say if they had sons or husbands or wives out there, they would obviously think differently. And I honestly think that wars and things out now have got to be settled by negotiating with people. You just can't keep threatening each other all the time.
I think you've hit the nail on the head when you say British politicians, because it seems to me that every other country has made some endeavours to get their people home, except the British government. Even the Americans. Everyone.
People might accuse you of just giving Saddam Hussein an opportunity for more propaganda.
Well, I mean, what can we say? If it gets the men home, then I'm not that worried.
I'm phoning up regarding my husband and a team of workers that are out in Baghdad.
The women are finding it difficult to get news. The British Embassy will not undertake to get letters to their husbands.
Distressed citizens. Well, what are your embassy out there doing then if you're not receiving any information off them?
Communication with the Foreign Office in London is very frustrating.
Well, I don't think no news is good news. I want some news because I want to know what's going on out there. I've had one leaflet off them telling me how to apply for social security, and I don't want to apply for social security.
I haven't even had a leaflet. Not a thing. Not a phone call or a circular or anything.
Nobody's been in touch with us. In other words, we've just been left.
By October, the women decided to take action. The company stopped paying the men's wages. The newspapers continued to report the atrocities committed by the Iraqi forces in Kuwait and the build-up to war. They thought that since nobody else seemed to be helping their men, they would have to do something themselves. Their first stop was London and a visit to Tory MP Teddy Taylor to see if any pressure could be put on the British government.
Mr Taylor, we'd like to make a point first of all before we ask you some questions about the lack of information from the Foreign Office.
They haven't phoned you at all about your husband's position to tell you?
Not a thing.
Okay. What about the embassies? Are they in touch with your husband at all?
Well, our husbands have been to the embassy in Baghdad, but they get no information and they haven't got the facility to ring home. We've had to send them money out to Baghdad to ring home, and as you know, our husbands aren't working anymore, so they're not earning any money.
Do other people from other countries, do they get free phone calls?
They do,
pay?
yes, they do.
How do they do that? The government just...
Their embassies out there are paying for them.
We'd like to know from you the official position of the British government, not only on keeping the men in Iraq, but getting the men home from Iraq.
What she's just really been saying is the same as President Bush, that we in fact have got to make it clear to Saddam Hussein.
But she isn't saying the same as every other European country. She's taken a much sterner line, and don't you think that that's distressing for the families here and for the British men there?
I mean, I quite accept it. On the other hand, you'll accept Saddam Hussein's no right to keep your husbands. He's using them as hostages, which is almost a form of war.
Well, I think that we've got to agree with that. But having said that, this world turns around with people speaking to each other, not saying that we've nothing to negotiate on. Surely to God, someone somewhere has to start talking to get people out of that country and home where they belong.
I mean, the view of the government, I can tell you, and I must say I support it, is that we believe the only way of resolving this is to get Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait. And we believe if we take the tough line we're doing, we will persuade him to do that by the sanctions policy. But on the other hand, I fully accept we've got to try and make sure that we keep in touch with the wives as much as possible. I think the only way, honestly, of safeguarding your husbands, getting things resolved, is to get him out of Kuwait, and that's why the sanctions policy is being applied. Our hope is that in a short time he'll get out of Kuwait.
Dissatisfied, they decide to take up an offer that the Iraqi embassy has made to all families to visit Baghdad itself. They want to clarify the terms on which they will travel.
We would like to start by saying thank you very much for seeing us. We know you're a very busy man and you're under a lot of pressure.
You are welcome, and how can I help you?
Your Excellency, you know that we've applied for visas to go to Baghdad to see our husbands, but the purpose of our visit isn't just a holiday or just to see our husbands. They are amongst a team of workers out there. And really, we would like to go to Baghdad to ask for the release of those men, to see if we can plead with somebody who has some power to let them come home.
As you know, they're all working on President Saddam Hussein's palace, and we feel through all this conflict and whatever you like to call it really, that our men have carried on working for your government, and they've shown no animosity either to you or to anybody really, and we just feel that surely that must be a point in their favour.
Well, as you know, we have made our decision under your request to visit your husband. We are ready to achieve this aim for you. I think That is enough for you, and thank you.
They were uncertain what to make of that enigmatic response from the ambassador, but he was prepared to give them visas to go to Iraq. They sought advice from Michael Adams, an expert in Arab affairs who's been involved in negotiations over hostages in the past.
This regime is a thoroughly unfriendly, tough, brutal one, frankly. So you're going into dangerous territory. I would have thought that your best, maybe your only line is to say, you're human beings, and we are, and our men are, and it seems to us that you have a chance here to be decent. And you just might, that way, get into the heart of an Arab.
What we want to know, straight up, is what you think are the possibilities of us getting these men home.
You have to be realistic, I'm afraid, and say that the chances are very small. But I imagine that you would feel that if there's any chance at all, you'd feel it's worth a go, wouldn't you?
Well, we'd always be worried that if we didn't take the chance.
Right.
You know, who
You
knows?
wouldn't like to look back and feel you didn't.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's the only way to look at it.
So it is worth a go.
I don't see you've anything to lose by going, and there's the outside chance you might win something.
Three days later, they arrived in Baghdad, accompanied by World in Action, who paid their fares.
And now that we're actually here, it seems quite unbelievable and quite amazing that we have actually got this far, because we never really thought we could. And I don't feel as nervous as what I thought I would. I'm just quite excited, really.
I think we feel quite calm about it, because it was such a big thing at first that we didn't ever imagine that we would be here. Now that we're here, we're going to do our utmost to try and do something to bring them home.
Their first priority is to meet their husbands, who are detained in a hotel in Baghdad. Their contract finished 6 weeks ago, but they've continued working at the presidential palace for no pay. They haven't seen their wives for months.
Oh, here we go.
Yes!
Hi there.
Hello. Hi. Great. Can't believe this. Hello. Oh. You're not going to start crying on me, are you? No. Over the moon.
Jimmy, what's it been like waiting for?
It's been terrible, but it's definitely the best day I've had for 3 months, I think. I made up great.
It's just been murder. You know, I only come over here for 5 weeks. I'm 14 and a half now, so you can imagine how I feel. I feel better now, though.
It's good to know that someone is doing something for us, and the government's not doing nothing for us at the moment. Just the families are doing something, you know. It feels that we are wanted at home by someone, you know.
Next morning, they set out for their first appointment. They have to meet the Minister of Information. He has no direct control over hostage policy, but he can open the way for them to meet other people. They hear the standard Iraqi line on the hostages, who they insist on calling guests.
You are welcome here in Baghdad, and we hope that all the guests will leave Baghdad as soon as possible. And when we have any sign from Bush that he will not attack our country, all the guests will leave as soon as possible, as you know.
Yes, but can you tell me, do you think it's a just law that allows you to take hostages? Because that's what the British people cannot understand. We do not take hostages. Our men came here to work for your President Saddam Hussein.
It seems the policy on contract workers is still under review. So there might be the possibility of a concession for their men if they plead their case.
So I will, from my side, I will take your request.
Next, they tackled a pack of British journalists staying in the same hotel who asked them how they see the potential conflict between Britain and Iraq.
From what we can gather, the people that we speak to just don't want to go to war and wonder what we're doing out here in the Arab world. And I must say, I share their opinion. So we're hoping that somebody somewhere can do something to get these men home. Start speaking to people in a civilised manner.
What do you think of Mr. Heath's initiative
It's marvellous. It's a little bit late, but it's marvellous, you know.
The journalists put it to the women that they could be criticised for trying to negotiate over hostages.
Are you supposed to leave somebody locked up in a little cell because Mrs. Thatcher doesn't want to speak to the people that are holding them? It could be you that was taken hostage, couldn't it, next time? Would you be prepared to sit there for 3 years while she sits there saying she doesn't want to speak to anyone?
Principles are all very well, aren't they? But people have to speak. You have to get around a table and talk these things out.
The women attracted very little interest from the Iraqi press while they were there, and some of the people they saw chose not to be filmed. So they were reassured that by and large they were not being used for overt propaganda. But their meeting with Iraqi television's guests' news program was very uncomfortable. The host wanted them to talk only about international peace and not to mention their husbands, but the women were having none of it.
And now, dear listeners, with John Concepcion.
We have come to Baghdad to visit your people, to visit our husbands, and to gain some knowledge of the Iraqi people.
Anything else to add, please?
Yes, I'd like to appeal to your people as human being to human being to release these men and to let them come home with us safely, because they all want to come back to England to the families.
The women felt they put the baffled interviewer in his place. He asked about Iraqi children suffering from milk shortages.
Well, what about our children that are suffering because they haven't got their fathers either? We would like you to give our children their happiness back and let their fathers come home to them.
Iraqi TV did, in the end, broadcast their appeal about their husbands.
It's quite obvious that he was trying to work us into his propaganda programme, and we just hoped that we'd done our best to deal with him and to not really fall into the trap of what we come here to achieve.
The man actually tried to have us scripted. I mean, it was just so obvious it was untrue. How slimy can you be?
They've been recommended to visit the powerful Women's Federation to see if they can make an appeal, woman to woman, to this organisation which has a direct line to Saddam Hussein. But the representative wanted to discuss the political situation.
We have done nothing to Britain or America. The situation is that Kuwait is Iraqi land. All the documents in Britain and around the world confirm that.
Our husbands are painters and they're not diplomats, they're not politicians, and they're caught up as pawns in this situation.
The women show pictures of their children to plead their case, and the Federation do agree to pass on their husbands' names.
Very good boy. They're fast asleep.
What were your first impressions of the woman at the Women's Federation?
Attila the Hun. She was quite a battle axe, really.
She just wanted to talk about politics, didn't she, and explain to us
spout the party line.
Yeah, but we just didn't. We let her go on, but we didn't really get into it. We just felt, well, we were wasting our time with her because she had such fixed ideas anyway. So we just let her go on.
She showed us some photographs of some children, which was designed to make us feel sorry for what's going on here in Iraq, but...
Well, to say that the babies were supposed to be starving, they were some of the healthiest looking children I've ever seen.
Yeah, I told her that one of them had very chubby cheeks.
On the television news, the Minister of Foreign Affairs has announced the release of all the French hostages. The Portuguese will leave the next day. That evening, Jackie, Angela and Joan visit the group of men detained with their husbands. Many are fearful to criticise either the British Embassy or the Iraqi government, lest there are repercussions. The atmosphere is very depressing. One man has just learned his mother has died. The group have heard that Edward Heath has secured the release of the elderly and sick, but contrary to press reports, there's no confirmed news on the situation for contract workers. The next day, the women are granted an audience with the number 3 man at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who handles the policy on hostages.
So I'm glad that you were able to visit us here, and we'll welcome all the other British people who like to visit, whether they were families of our guests.
Our husbands aren't diplomats, they're not politicians. They're here, they paint President Saddam Hussein's palace, and their jobs are finished. And we would just like them to come home with us.
The meeting goes well, and the minister takes the names of the men and promises to review their case.
We really hope that the stay of the foreigners that have been prevented from traveling will be here as short as possible, and we'll try to do our best.
He promised that he would do what he could for us. He was really sympathetic, really charming, and if you can take it on face value what he said to us, he has took a list of the men's names and he promised us he would do what he could for us.
Well, after we'd finished filming, we came outside and we were invited in to see the man who was second in command, which is even more unbelievable, really. And he was just absolutely brilliant, although he wouldn't be filmed. He was very nice. He's got some kind of distant relative who lives in Liverpool, and he was quite charming and said that he would give us any help that he possibly could.
Do you think you got your points across?
I think we did, yes, because we wouldn't talk about politics, and he obviously didn't want to talk to two Liverpool housewives about politics anyway. But he was quite sort of human, and we got a bit upset because one of the men's had a tragedy in his family, and we wanted him in particular to be allowed to come home. And I think that he knew we were genuinely upset, and I think he was touched by that, really.
After just 3 days in Iraq, it's time to return home. They have a last meal with their husbands. They've been told they may get on the list of contract workers who will be allowed out when the work is finished. They hope to get their exit visas by the middle of November, but there's no official confirmation yet.
I'm just upset, really, that we've got to go home. And I think it's disgusting that we've had to actually come out here and try and shock this government and the people of Britain into realising that the situation that our people, our men, are in out here. And I just hope it can shame somebody into doing something and to getting around a table and to sit and to talk about peace, not sending more troops out and making the situation worse. If other governments can come out and get the national guard, I just don't understand why Mrs Thatcher can't.
I'm very proud. That's an understatement, proud. God blimey. The three of them, they're brilliant. Brilliant.
How do you feel about her leaving?
I wish it wasn't. I wish she wasn't. Or I wish I was going with her. I'll be relieved when I find out when she gets home in England. I'll be happy then. I'll know that she's home safe. She's done her bit. She can't do no more. I made her from. There's only 3 weeks and we'll all be there. We'll be there.
Nice flight.
The women travel back to England. Despite the pain of separation, they're proud of their achievements.
Yes, I'm very pleased I did it. I don't think I should have had to do it, but I'm very pleased that I did.
Well, we're hopeful that they will get out because we have been given some assurances that the visas will be processed and the applications. And we're just in their hands, aren't we, really? And we're just hoping that, you know, it will go ahead and they will do what they promised for us.
But that's 2 or 3 weeks. What happens? The military build-up is still going on in the Gulf. What happens if war breaks out in the meantime?
The men and their 22 colleagues wait to hear confirmation of their exit visas, and the European community takes a harder line on independent initiatives to release hostages. The women, in common with all families whose men remain in the Gulf, are left waiting and hoping.